While most countries dedicate a significant portion of their resources to defense, a select few have opted out entirely. These countries have no standing army, and some have been without one for decades, even centuries. But how do they manage? Let's dive into the reasons behind these decisions. Costa Rica is perhaps the most famous military-free nation. In 1948, after a bloody civil war, the country's leaders made a bold decision. They abolished the military. The reasoning? To prioritize education, healthcare, and the well-being of the people instead of war. By diverting funds from military spending to social programs, Costa Rica built one of the most stable democracies in Latin America. And it's not just about peace. Costa Rica also invests heavily in environmental sustainability, making it a global leader in ecotourism. Costa Rica maintains its military-free status and does not command any military units or house any war weapons. However, the country does maintain alliances with other countries, such as the United States, that can be expected to assist in the event of war within Costa Rica. Costa Rica does employ some police forces under the MSP that help enforce law, patrol borders, and decrease drug trafficking. Iceland, a country with no standing army since its independence in 1944, relies on something else for security: alliances. As a founding member of NATO, Iceland benefits from international protection without having a military of its own. Instead of soldiers, Iceland focuses on law enforcement, search and rescue teams, and coast guards to keep the country safe. In times of need, countries like the United States have stepped in to provide military support. Next, let's talk about Liechtenstein, a small but wealthy principality nestled between Switzerland and Austria. Liechtenstein abolished its army back in 1868 because it was too costly to maintain. Instead, they rely on Switzerland for defense. Due to its peaceful location and non-aggressive foreign policy, Liechtenstein has had no need for a military, even in times of global conflict. It's a prime example of how geography and diplomatic relationships can replace the need for armed forces. Vatican City, the smallest country in the world, doesn't need an army either. After all, it's home to the Pope and has a population of just over 800. However, the Swiss Guard, which serves as the Pope's personal security, has been in place since 1506. The Swiss Guard may not be a military force, but they ensure the safety of the Pope. Vatican City itself relies on Italy for broader defense, further highlighting the importance of strategic partnerships. So, what do these countries have in common? Geography plays a huge role. Most military-free nations are either too small, too isolated, or too diplomatically neutral to face significant external threats. Others have relied on international treaties and alliances like NATO, where larger nations provide protection. In fact, several of these nations are often involved in peace negotiations and global diplomacy efforts. By promoting peace on the global stage, they reduce the likelihood of needing a military in the first place. But of course, being a military-free nation isn't without its risks. In times of global instability or nearby conflicts, these countries may be vulnerable. The reliance on larger allies for protection can also put them in a precarious position if those alliances ever break down. Still, these nations maintain their pacifist stance by betting on diplomacy, international law, and peaceful resolutions rather than war. Given the success of military-free nations, you might wonder why more countries don't follow this model. The answer often lies in geography, resources, regional stability, and global influence. Larger countries often feel the need to protect their territorial integrity, economic interests, and geopolitical influence, making a standing army essential. For example, countries like the US, China, and Russia maintain powerful militaries because they play dominant roles in global politics and must deter external threats. For countries in volatile regions such as Israel in the Middle East or South Korea near North Korea, having a military is seen as critical to survival. Even wealthy nations like Saudi Arabia invest heavily in defense to protect oil resources. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell for more content. Thank you for watching and see you on the next one.